Welcome back. We are diving into a really fascinating stack of material today. And if you've ever looked at your monthly insurance premium and wondered about the underlying math, you are definitely going to want to hear this.
Oh, absolutely. It's a completely different world we're looking at today.
Right. Because we all know the traditional insurance model, right?
Yeah.
It relies on a static risk pool.
Yeah.
I mean, for generations, the concept has been pretty straightforward. The healthy subsidize the sick.
Exactly. Everyone pays into this collective pot.
Yeah, and that communal solidarity absorbs the shock for whoever gets unlucky. But the projections we are analyzing today for the 2026 to 2031 window, they show a complete abandonment of that communal model.
It's just gone.
Completely gone. In favor of this hyper-personalized dynamic tracking. So the mission for today's deep dive is to explore the biometric data economy, the rise of what the sources call the laboratory home, and how dynamic real-time data is fundamentally rewriting the rules of insurance, government regulation, and personal privacy.
What's fascinating here is the paradigm shift from a pay-as-you-see model to a pay-as-you-live model. Historically, underwriting was based on these static snapshots.
Like filling out a form.
Right. You fill out a questionnaire, maybe submit a yearly blood test if it's life insurance, and an actuary assigns you to a broad risk category. You pay for how you are seen in that singular frozen moment.
But pay-as-you-live changes all of that.
Completely. Moving to pay-as-you-live means pricing is no longer a historical snapshot. It becomes this continuous, fluid stream of biometric data. It's actively tracking how you exist in your environment, minute by minute.
So imagine your insurance premiums no longer being calculated annually. Instead, they change daily or even hourly based on sensors hidden all around your house.
It's wild to think about.
You could wake up to one rate, eat breakfast, and literally watch that rate tick upward based on the nutritional value of your meal.
Which completely upends the relationship you have with your living space. We're moving away from the home as a passive shelter and turning it into an active participant in your financial planning.
Okay, let's unpack this. Future insurance companies won't really act like financial institutions anymore. We traditionally think of insurers as, giant buildings full of actuaries crunching historical mortality tables.
Right, people in suits looking at spreadsheets?
Exactly. But looking at these projections, they are restructuring to operate as data analysis centers.
They have to.
Yeah, they aren't just managing pooled funds anymore. They are ingesting and processing a relentless tsunami of live behavioral data coming straight from your living room.
And that operational pivot is crucial. They transition from being passive holders of risk to active monitors of your daily behavior. When you look at the architecture of this laboratory home, the volume of data is staggering. The smart devices aren't just adjusting your thermostat anymore.
They're logging microbehaviors.
Exactly.
There are some incredibly vivid examples in our material that bring this down to earth. Take the smart toilet. I know it sounds like a punchline, but it's a diagnostic tool.
A very effective one.
Right. If it detects a minor infection or a change in your microbiome, that data is instantly transmitted. Or consider your kitchen's AI. A connected fridge and smart pantry could easily flag what the algorithm classifies as an excessive sugary diet.
Just from what you pull off the shelf.
Yeah. And suddenly, based on those highly specific real-time data points, your health insurance premium for that month jumps by 15% in real time. There's no doctor's visit. There's no annual review. It's an automatic financial penalty for your dietary choices.
But people always ask, how does the system know it's you eating that cake and not a guest?
Right. What if I have friends over?
Well, that is where the sensor integration gets highly sophisticated. It's not just a camera in the fridge, it's gait analysis from the smart floorboards, it's your micro habits, even the specific way you interact with the appliance handles.
Wow.
All of this feeds into a transition from a reactive model, which is compensating for loss, to a proactive one focused entirely on preventing loss. This is the predict and prevent model. The goal is no longer to simply pay your hospital bill after you get sick.
They want to stop you from getting sick in the first place.
Right. The goal is to intercept the event before it happens, purely because interception is vastly more cost-effective.
The scenario illustrating this predict and prevent model in the sources is intense. Like, if your home system senses the early biometric markers of an impending heart attack.
Which it can do by combining data points.
Yeah, maybe the mattress sensors detect restless sleep and an elevated resting heart rate, and that's combined with micro tremors in your voice picked up by the smart speaker. The insurance company doesn't wait for the cardiac event. They proactively send an autonomous ambulance straight to your door
They intercept you.
before you even know you're in danger.
And the driving force isn't a sudden burst of corporate altruism, let's be clear about that. It is the absolute maximization of economic efficiency. Why pay out for a triple bypass and months of rehabilitation when an algorithm can dispatch a preventative medical drone the moment your blood pressure spikes into the red zone?
It's just cheaper.
Vastly cheaper. They avoid billions of dollars in future medical costs by spending a fraction of that on early intervention. It's a hyper-personalized pricing and intervention model driven purely by efficiency.
Here's where it gets really interesting. To make this entire predict and prevent ecosystem function, you need a centralized metric. And that brings us to lifestyle scoring. It's described in the source as almost like a social credit system, but specifically tailored to your biology and your health habits.
It functions as a continuous grading of your biological existence.
So if you hit the gym, if the sensors in your bed confirm you achieve optimal REM sleep every single night, and if your kitchen verifies your caloric intake aligns with their longevity algorithms, you achieve gold status.
The holy grail of the new model.
Right. And hitting gold status means you pay rock-bottom premiums. You become the perfect low-risk citizen in the eyes of the data analysis center. But I immediately thought, what stops someone from gaming the system?
Like tying your smartwatch to a dog.
Exactly. If I'm striving for gold status, couldn't I just put my tracker on a paint shaker to log steps?
Early iterations of telematics certainly had those vulnerabilities, but the laboratory home eliminates that through redundancy. A smartwatch can be fooled, but you can't easily fool the ambient sensors monitoring your respiration rate, combined with the smart mirror analyzing your skin pallor and the plumbing analyzing your waste all at once.
The system cross-references everything.
Yes, it requires consensus from multiple environmental nodes to grant that gold status.
Which means you really have to live the lifestyle to get the discount.
You do. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the ethical dilemmas here are profound. A gamified gold status sounds fantastic for a perfectly healthy person with the disposable income to buy organic food and the free time to exercise daily.
Sure, it's a great deal for them.
But when risk becomes 100% personalized, the concept of societal solidarity completely dies. The healthy are no longer subsidizing the sick because the healthy have walled themselves off in their cheap, optimized tiers.
Leaving everyone else to absorb their own concentrated risk. Genetically disadvantaged individuals or people born with chronic illnesses would logically see their premiums skyrocket to unaffordable levels. I mean, it's not a matter of personal failure if you have a genetic predisposition to an autoimmune disease.
Not at all.
But the hyper-personalized algorithm doesn't factor in fault or fairness. It only calculates statistical risk and impending cost.
And this inevitably leads to a massive social fracture. We are looking at the birth of an out-of-system or uninsurable class of people. These are individuals who are totally stripped of health coverage simply because the relentless tracking of their biology deems them a bad investment. The communal safety net is literally replaced by algorithmic exclusion.
And it doesn't stop at genetics or biology. The sources point out a huge danger regarding algorithmic discrimination. These insurance algorithms don't just look at your heart rate in a vacuum. They combine your health data with contextual data, your neighborhood, your occupation, your broader socioeconomic status.
The system looks for any correlation to predict cost.
Right, meaning it could systematically code low-income areas as inherently riskier environments.
Historically, socioeconomic factors correlate strongly with health outcomes due to environmental stressors, food deserts, pollution, you name it. But when you automate that correlation into a dynamic pricing model, you risk structurally locking vulnerable populations into this uninsurable class.
Because of where they live.
Exactly. Even if an individual in that zip code is doing everything right, eating well, exercising the contextual data drags their lifestyle score down, penalizing them simply for where they live under the guise of objective, data-driven risk analysis.
So what does this all mean for the law? We have these massive technological shifts and severe ethical dilemmas, and governments are caught right in the middle of it. They're stuck between protecting citizen privacy and embracing the undeniable efficiency that these predictive systems offer.
It's a huge regulatory headache.
And to be clear to you, our listener, we aren't taking sides on whether the governments or corporations have the moral high ground here. We are strictly examining the regulatory facts from the sources and the friction of implementing these policies as the 2026 timeline approaches.
It really is a delicate tightrope walk for regulators worldwide. The European Union's approach with the EU AI Act of 2026 attempts to restrict biometric data collection specifically to prevent the exact kind of algorithmic discrimination we just discussed.
To protect the baseline.
Yes. The state's position is that you cannot use this deeply intimate data to deny people fundamental basic health coverage.
But there's a catch in the text. Even if basic coverage is protected, there's still a significant loophole for the predictive tech to operate.
A massive loophole. The EU framework restricts this data for basic universal insurance, but it leaves the door wide open for its use in private or complementary insurance.
Doesn't that just create a two-tiered system, like a biological class divide? The hyper-personalized, data-driven model is still allowed to flourish. It just operates in a parallel, private market situated above the basic state safety net.
Precisely.
So if you have the money and the good genes, you get the autonomous ambulance. If you don't, you rely on the standard system.
That is the practical outcome of bifurcating the market. The premium predictive services become luxury commodities. Now, if we look at a different regulatory environment from our sources, Turkey's KVKK, which is their personal data protection authority, they updated their guidelines in 2026, specifically addressing the autonomous processing of sensitive health data.
And their approach really highlights that tension between privacy mandates and corporate capability.
It does.
The Turkish regulators mandate that this sensitive home health data must be anonymized. That is their major concession to privacy. However, they purposefully do not strip insurance companies of their risk analysis capabilities entirely. They are trying to thread the needle where the data is supposedly de-identified, but insurers can still use the aggregate patterns to perform dynamic underwriting.
But the friction there is immense. How do you truly anonymize biometric data when a person's daily habits are as unique as a fingerprint?
You probably can't.
Right. If an algorithm knows exactly what time you wake up, your specific heart rate variability, and your exact dietary intake, stripping your name off the file doesn't actually hide your identity. The state recognizes the efficiency of the new model and doesn't want to outlaw it completely, so they rely on anonymization protocols that many technologists argue are fundamentally flawed in a smart home environment.
Beyond just regulating the insurance companies, there is another layer to government involvement. The states themselves have a vested interest in tapping into this data. It all comes down to data sovereignty.
Absolutely. Some states want to utilize this constant stream of home health data for broad public health oversight. Rather than leaving all that predictive power sitting on private corporate servers, they envision building a national early warning system.
The public surveillance versus early warning debate, it's fascinating. If millions of smart toilets and wearable sensors are constantly monitoring the population's biometrics, public health officials could potentially detect epidemics and infectious diseases before citizens even show severe symptoms.
Before they even leave their houses.
Right.
It represents the ultimate epidemiological tool. A public health department would instantly know if a novel virus is sweeping through a specific city block because everyone's smart home is silently reporting minor fevers, coughing frequencies, and elevated white blood cell counts to a central state server. The early warning capabilities are unprecedented.
But it relies on absolute, continuous surveillance of the domestic space. Which brings us back to the individual in all of this. What if you just opt out? You listening might be thinking, well, I just won't buy the connected fridge. I'll use a normal toilet. I won't sync my data.
It sounds simple enough.
But the sources introduce a chilling concept at play here called biometric hostage-taking.
It creates the illusion of choice. On paper, you have the right to privacy. In practice, the economics make it nearly impossible to exercise that right.
Because to keep premiums at an affordable level, individuals practically have to open up their home privacy to these companies. The traditional risk pool is gone, remember. So if you refuse to share your real-time data, the algorithm has no way to verify that you are a low-risk individual.
Which means the system automatically defaults to assuming you are high risk.
The right not to give data effectively turns into a massive high premium penalty.
You are technically free to disconnect your house, but doing so will cost you so much financially that for the average person, it isn't a real choice. You are economically compelled to surrender your biometric privacy just to maintain access to affordable healthcare and property insurance. Your biological data becomes the currency you must spend to buy a baseline standard of living.
Which leads us to the ultimate conclusion from the text. As we approach 2030, a new social contract is being drafted. It is a complex agreement constantly being negotiated between the individual, the state, and the corporation. And it fundamentally redefines the spaces we live in. The home is no longer just a nest. It ceases to be a private sanctuary insulated from the outside world.
Under this new social contract, your living room, your bedroom, and your bathroom simultaneously become a data mine, a localized health center, and an economic control point. Every breath you take in your sleep, every meal you cook, and every restless night is data being actively mined to dictate your economic standing.
The ultimate trade-off is stark. The technology promises a prolonged, health-monitored life. We might eradicate late-stage disease detection. We might avoid catastrophic heart attacks entirely through autonomous medical intervention. But the price we pay for that extended biological existence might be the complete and total loss of our digital and physical privacy.
It is the defining tension of the coming decade. We are trading the sanctity of the private sphere for the optimized efficiency of the predictive algorithm.
We have covered a massive paradigm shift today. We've explored the transition from communal risk pools where everyone chips in to a future of hyper-personalized dynamic living where your smart toilet dictates your insurance bill. We've looked at the scramble for gold status, the very real threat of an algorithmic uninsurable class, and how governments are wrestling with regulating or even co-opting this unprecedented stream of intimate data.
This raises an important question, and it is something deeply philosophical about the nature of human life for you to consider. If our homes are constantly monitoring our health to dictate our financial survival, what happens to the concept of simply relaxing? If every indulgent piece of cake or lazy weekend spent on the couch watching movies is instantly monetized and penalized by the very walls around you, does the home cease to be the place of rest and instead become a stage for a lifelong, exhausting performance for an algorithm?
That is exactly the kind of question we want you to mull over today. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking closely at the systems being built around you. Keep questioning the technology you invite into your personal space, and we will catch you on the next deep dive. Take care.